So the first poem that I have brought from Longfellow is called "The Day Is Done," and this it seems counterintuitive for me to bring a poem called "The Day Is Done" for us to start with, but once I read it, you'll kind of get the feeling and the understanding of why we're starting with it. So,
Well, and also, if you're watching this, you're watching it. Hopefully, the evening we release it. So after 4:30, your day is probably done.
Yeah,
This is fitting.
yeah, your day is at least close to being done, and we're merely following the instructions in the poem.
Mm-hmm.
The day is done, and the darkness falls from the wings of night, as a feather is wafted downward from an eagle in its flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain, and resembles sorrow only, as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple and heartfelt lay, that shall soothe this restless feeling, and banish the thoughts of day. Not from the old grandmasters, not from the bards sublime, whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time. For like strains of martial music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor, and tonight I long for rest. Read from some humbler poet, whose songs gushed from his heart, as showers from the clouds of summer, or tears from the eyelids start. Who through long days of labor, and nights devoid of ease, still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have power to quiet the restless pulse of care, and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice. And the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tents like the Arabs, and as silently steal away. So this poem is long, but its message is relatively short. My heart is weary and my cares are many. It's a misty night. And it starts off, he doesn't have this feeling of satisfaction at the end of the day that we ought to have. He's still restless.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got all these cares and worries about tomorrow, about the present moment. And he sees the lights of the village shining through the mist in some sort of this ominous sort of way. But he wants to hear poetry. And not from the big names. You know, he's not asking for T.S. Eliot. He's not asking for Shakespeare. No, so he wants somebody out of the way from some corner. Some lesser-known fellow who just wrote simple and loving, beautiful poetry about ordinary things. Now, I really like this line about the old grandmasters. Their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor, and tonight I long for rest. Rest is not the time for T.S. Eliot. Rest is not the time for the esoterics. Rest is the time for Longfellow. And that's the reason we're starting, is hopefully, as you ought to by the fire, you can listen to this podcast and rest. We are not here to remind you of this tragedy or that war. We are here to bring peace. We chose the image of a fire in the hearth because of its tranquility, its calmness, and its simplicity. So hopefully that's what we can bring to you. And with that, I don't have too much, other than he seems to be Longfellow in this poem seems to be also, he's speaking to someone, I imagine to his wife. Because he mentions, where is it? Read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice. So he doesn't want to read the poem, he wants to hear it. He wants to listen to it. You know, when we listen to beautiful and calming music, we then are calmed. It's more relaxing to just sit back and listen than it is to read. I know a lot of people in the past have, and some people now, will read to get sleepy. Well, that's not unlike staring at your phone to get sleepy. It's different because it's not backlit, so you're not bombarding your eyes with light, but you're still putting in effort of your eyes. You don't have to... reading is a very active thing. Listening can be either active or passive.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the context, either one is just as good. The baby monitor spoke in Morse code. It is a very clever device. But anyway, it is easier to relax by listening than it is by reading or by watching. Even people that fall asleep during movies, it's more the sound of the movie that's happening passively that's putting you to sleep than the visuals. Because it takes effort to keep your eyes open and watch the screen. But if a television is just background noise for you, then it turns into a lullaby. It's lulling you. But for that poem, although it was long, I know I'm usually fairly long-winded when I deconstruct a poem. But this poem is very simple. And really, that's all you need.
That's true. That is all
in
you
a poem.
Need.
The more esoteric stuff has its place, but one of the reasons I love Longfellow so much is that almost anybody can understand almost all of his poetry.
Yeah, and the examples we've had so far on this podcast are very reflective of that.
He is probably one of the best starter poets for people that are wanting to get into poetry. I don't know if I'll ever not recommend Longfellow to somebody.
Can't argue with that.